Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Sarah Uballez, Director of Operations for Arvest Equipment Finance. Thanks for joining me, Sarah.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No, I'm glad to have you on the program. I think this is a first for the show. This is actually my third Fireside with an Arvest Equipment Finance employee. So excited
Yeah,
to have you on the program. I guess we'll just try to not have a competition with Eric and Katie. We'll see how that goes.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. We can be the judge of that later.
It's fair. It's fair. The question comes in, I can tell them. It's like, you know what? She did it on the first shot. So
That's true. There you go. Off the hip here.
all right. So Sarah, for the individuals in equipment finance who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined the equipment finance industry, specifically more transportation finance, back in 2006 with GE Capital. Started when collections and customer service, and did that for a few years, doing a lot of workouts on transportation deals, and then moved my way into more of a sales role. And at that time, we were in Kansas City with GE Transportation and covered Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. So my marching orders were I could call on any customer or any dealer that nobody had reached out to in 2 years. So it was challenging, but it was fun, and really got in there and grew a bit of a portfolio. So that's where it all started. We moved to Bend, Oregon in 2013, and at that time had a new baby and didn't really want to do the sales thing anymore and be on the road traveling. And so I took a remote position with GE as a sales coordinator, and covered a different region on the east, so more of like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. So I did that from home and worked remote before remote work was cool. This was like in 2013. So kind of a trendsetter there. BMO Harris Bank bought our division of GE, and that closed. I look back at dates, I believe it was December of 2015 when that closed. And so
I can't believe it was that long ago.
I know, it seems crazy. So yeah, so BMO bought GE Transportation Finance, and I went with that acquisition in that same role. Living in Bend, Oregon, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me to move around, and kind of just got a little bit almost bored with the role, and so started looking around. I found that there was an independent leasing company right there in Bend, and so I made a move over to that company, and I took a position as their Salesforce administrator. I was a Salesforce super user with BMO and with GE,
Okay.
but didn't have an administrator certificate, but kind of taught myself and learned the ropes, and eventually got that certification. And after a while, they realized, oh, she understands accounting. So then I moved into accounting. VP of Treasury and Accounting is what my title became after about a year, and led some charge there with those divisions, and took a little bit of a hiatus, and then came back as VP of Operations Management for that company. And eventually we moved back to Arkansas, and we moved to Bentonville, Arkansas. And now I'm with Arvest Bank, and I am in their equipment finance division here. And my title is Director of Operations. So that's been fun. I've been in this role for a little bit over a year now. And Arvest is a $26 billion bank. We've got a 4-state footprint. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas is the primary region that we serve. But we've got several different sales channels. We have a vendor sales channel, a bank sales channel, inside sales, and then munis. So really the last year I've been kind of deep diving into the way Arvest Equipment Finance does things, and it's been it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Never a dull moment. And you have the
No.
sales force that the organization's on, so I can see that. And so all these things are starting to come a little full circle to me
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we use Salesforce here at AEF too. And so it's been cool too, just to see how, each of those three different equipment finance companies, they all do basically the same thing, but everyone approaches it a little bit differently. So
Sure, sure.
it's really neat to see that.
So a little to unpack from your career so far, but before I do that, I have to have a shameless plug in here. So how did you find out about Arvest?
Yeah, so like I said, I was working for an independent leasing company out of Bend, Oregon. We moved to Bentonville, Arkansas, and I was working completely remote. And a little bit before the show, I was talking about how I enjoy listening to podcasts. So when I'm working, I'll listen to podcasts. And I was listening to one of the ELFA podcasts that Alexa does, and that day she just so happened to be interviewing Katie Crawford. Katie is the bank sales manager here at AEF. And so she was interviewing Katie, and I was listening, and it caught my ear that she was from Northwest Arkansas. And so, not long later, I was like, oh, look Katie up. And so I looked up her LinkedIn profile, and I thought, you know what? I'm here. I don't know anyone. I'm on an island. She's in the same industry as I am. She sounds nice. So maybe I'll just send her a LinkedIn message, and maybe we can just get coffee and connect. We're in the same industry. We both have CLFPs. So I sent her a LinkedIn message, and we chatted back and forth for a few weeks. And then we met up at a coffee shop and hit it off. And yeah, maybe, I don't even know, 6 months later, maybe I was at Arvest. So that was not the intention by any stretch of the imagination, but it's funny
Oh,
how
sure.
things play out.
No, I don't know. Absolutely. And then, so you joined GE in transportation finance in one
Mhm.
of the most interesting years.
It was very interesting.
So it's like, maybe did you have a solid year of decent experience before all this stuff just kind of hit? And then kind of what was that like? I mean, I think of 2006, and especially in transportation. Um,
Mhm.
like, what was that experience like, Sarah?
Yeah, so when I started, pretty fresh right out of college. And so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I just knew I needed to work for a large company so that there would be plenty of opportunity. And, it's weird to think that that was almost 20 years ago. I feel like it was yesterday, but it wasn't yesterday. Um, I remember going in, and I got this list of accounts. I was like, you got to call through all these. And there were big trucking companies, and call through them and try and get their payment. And they'd yell at you, and they'd tell you every sob story that they could think of. And so it was
Oh,
hard, and that kind of when you're young, but quickly realize, these are people who they're good people. They're working hard. They're just trying to make a living. And I eventually fell in love with the industry from it, but it was a challenge, and really understanding, okay, what is the problem that they're having? It's more than that they can't just make their payment. Is it because of fuel prices? Is it because they are in a business where they make most of their income 6 months out of the year? Whatever the case is,
yeah.
diving deeper into the problem so that you can help solve it, not just push them down the road 90 days. So it was a huge challenge, Jesse, but eventually kind of got things figured out, and
No, I mean,
moved after
I just
that.
think of, I got into this industry in 2005, and it's like the first couple of years, like, okay, that's fine. Then like this Great Recession kind of smacks you in like 2008, 2009,
Right,
and in a sales role, and especially in that market, was probably hit the hardest. Like,
exactly.
good for you for sticking through that. That's for sure.
I remember whenever I left that position of collections and customer service and went into sales, and giving myself a pep talk before I made that first sales call. And I called this guy, and he was obviously driving down the road, and he said, the only thing I'm financing is a cheeseburger. And I was like, I don't even know what to say to that. But I'll never
That's
forget. That
fantastic.
was my very first sales call and the very first response I got. So
Where'd the call go from there? Does he click?
I think I laughed and thought, I have no idea what to say to you.
What if I bought you that cheeseburger? Then you don't have to
Exactly.
finance
Say,
anything.
would you finance a truck?
Like,
Would you pay your
right,
bill
dude,
if I finance that truck
go
for
ahead.
you?
Food first. Food first.
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome. So I mean, so from a, I guess, collections, sales role, technology role, and now operations, like, do you feel the current role you have just kind of encompasses? I mean, sales and ops are obviously a little bit different,
Mhm.
you know, but like, just what are your thoughts on the different roles that you've had over the last 18 years?
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty diverse background of roles. I've done just about everything except credit, is kind of the way I like to say it. Um, Although operations and sales are very different, they also go hand in hand because I find that, sales, they make the sale, but we have to document the deal, we have to collect it, we have to service it. And so I appreciate what sales team goes through. It's not easy. A lot of people just think, oh, they're just out taking people to lunch and playing golf. And that's not always the case. And that's not true. They're the frontline person.
Not that we don't mind, that we enjoy doing that, of course.
Right. That's a piece of it. But they're the first person that's contacting the customer. And so
Yeah.
they're the ones relaying this information, and they're the voice from AEF to that customer. And so they don't have as easy of a role as what a lot of people think. And so I do appreciate that, and always trying to look for ways to make their lives a little bit easier or look for opportunities for them. But I love operations. I like that it's diverse. I'm really fortunate that we have some really great managers who lead the different departments under operations. So that makes my life a lot easier, and I have a ton of respect for each of them. So I don't think I could have a better position right now.
Sure, sure. No, that's perfect. And it's refreshing as someone who's been in a traditional business development role pretty much my entire career, where you have someone who kind of understands like yeah, sales looks like it's great. You get to go do all these things and everything else, but it's a grind,
It is a
majority of the
grind,
time.
especially right now in the economic state we're in currently. It's not that easy, and you have to really go out and fight for business, and it's different than it was 2 years ago. So they've got to really speak with those customers and understand their business and understand where they need to go and what we could do for them to help them.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I want to say anyone who got into this space probably over the last 15 years has only seen this.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're running into their first kind of real objections. And
Yes.
but kudos to Arvest. You guys have a rock star sales force there that's more relationship driven than,
Absolutely.
and that helps out a lot too.
Yes, absolutely.
So I guess I'm just going to switch gears a little bit here. So you've been in equipment finance 16 years. Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not going to say the years. That's rude, Jesse. Don't give years out there. But from an equipment finance industry perspective, Sarah, was this like, how did you stumble into GER and the fact that it's GE in 2006?
Yeah, actually, I have a story about this. My grandpa owned a trucking company in Lynn, Missouri.
Oh,
And he pretty well hauled livestock and dump trucks. And so I grew up around that industry my entire life. And I remember at GE when I first got into sales, not the cheeseburger, but it was a little bit later. I worked with a gentleman, and they were financing a red Peterbilt dump truck. And it was all specced out. It was beautiful. And I did a lot of work to help him because it was a pretty tough credit to get. And as we went through it, I said, I really enjoy working with you because my grandpa owned a trucking company and he only drove red Peterbilts. That's all he would buy. And so it was really cool working with him. And then a few months later, he sent me a framed picture of the dump truck that we financed, and it said thank you.
Oh,
And so that was really cool. But I like to lead back to growing up and just being around that industry, and being around my grandpa's red Peterbilts all the time, and he was
sure.
really proud of them. So I never thought I would be in this industry, but whenever I saw it, and I thought, like, I can relate to that. I get it. And like I said before, I feel like it's good people trying to make a good, honest living for their families, and
Yeah.
it's something that everyone can relate to.
So how quickly did you adapt that story to your sales pitch?
If I would have been a better salesperson, I should have done that. That's a great idea, Jesse.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that about you, but that would be my thing. If I was like your sales leader, I'd be like, that's it. That's it. Because it's personable and it's relatable. And you can actually, that's I think the hardest part about sales is just who's genuine and who's not.
Right.
So that's just, I'm sorry, just in the back of my
No,
mind, I'm sitting there like, that's
maybe
brilliant.
someday I'll find myself back in a sales role and I'll think, you know what, Jesse Johnson, he told me this is what I should do. And I'll take that up and report back to you.
Eric, don't listen to any of that. It's fine. It's fine. We'll stick with operations. Don't yell at me.
That's
Oh,
funny.
it's fantastic. So, I guess just general thoughts on this industry. What are your thoughts on equipment finance from the three organizations you've been in? So,
It's a cyclical industry, so anyone new kind of coming into it now or in the future when we're not at this part of the cycle, give it time. It's going to come back, just slow down. But it's one of those things that, out of 2009, 2010, we came out of that and we came out differently. And so I'm sure, this time next year, we're going to look a lot different than we do now. How, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but
sure.
Equipment finance, it's so diverse. You have companies out there and they're financing transportation or agriculture, construction, medical, technology, you name it. There's people out there financing it. And so it's really cool that you can talk to people in this industry who all have essentially the same goal, but we're all doing different. We're all chasing after different types of companies and different types of industries. And so it really is pretty diverse.
Do you remember your first conference or trade show that you went to?
I do, because I just started going to conferences
Okay.
a little over a year ago. So I haven't gone to a ton of them, just kind of dipping my toes in them now.
What was the first one?
It was the ELFA Women's Conference.
Okay.
And
Okay.
let's see, it would have been in 2023, so last year.
In Chicago.
Yes, indeed.
To talk about the experience of that women's conference, last year.
Mm-hmm. It was really a good conference. I was surprised on the way that it was put together. It was really cool because they had, you checked in, you got a name badge, and on the back of the name badge, I'm trying to think how it worked. There were numbers, I believe is what it was. And so you sat at a different table with different people on day one and on day two. So it really forced all of the women, and there were a few men at the conference, to not just sit with the people that they know. You were forced to engage with others from other companies. And then they did a really good job too of networking in the evening. They had what they called a dine around. And so you would select what type of food you wanted to eat. So maybe steakhouse, seafood, pub food, whatever type of food it was that appealed most to you, you would select it. And then they matched you up with a handful of others that were at the conference. and you all just walked to the restaurant together. And so you ate with people you've probably never met before. And, whenever you build that type of community over food, everyone connects and realizes what they have in common and starts those conversations. So it was really a good conference, and the topics that were presented and very well put together speakers. So I was highly impressed with that first conference that I went to.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario. Probably easier for someone who hasn't gone to an event to get one of those things where you're sitting at a different table. I just think it's like I said, I've been in the traditional business development role my 19 years now. So it's like
Right.
if I get a card, it's like, who am I sitting next to?
Yep.
Oh, what's that?
You wouldn't do that.
No, not externally, of course.
It was good. It was really nice because those conferences can be very overwhelming. Of you get there and you walk in and you might know a handful of people, and there's a lot of people you don't know. And how do you
Well,
just
and to that point, I mean, this industry, everyone, it's just so cohesive, and people have been from one organization to another. So I remember my
right?
first conference I went to, everyone's like hugging, and it's like, what? Like, okay, I'm just gonna try to find a. Sure enough, it's like 30. It didn't take long. People
No, it doesn't
will
take
gladly
long at
put their
all.
arm around you and walk you around and introduce you to whoever you want to know. But it's just a little intimidating at first because of how close knit this industry is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But everyone is so friendly and
Yeah.
they welcome a new face. So that makes this industry special.
No, same page. So I want to, you mentioned something during your introduction where it was like when you moved to Ben, you had a younger child.
Mhm.
So I know that's something that we always talk about. It's kind of like that work-life balance,
Yes,
and if that's even possible, I have two kids, and it's like, what balance? What
right.
balance? Kind of what has been your approach, between kind of, we have a job to do, but we
Mhm.
also have a family to maintain. Um, what is any suggestions there, Sarah? Just thoughts?
I mean, whenever you have young children, they're not that young forever. I mean, that girl who was a baby when we moved to Ben, she's now 10. So it doesn't last forever. And so just, try to find that balance and know, all right, from 8 to 5, I'm dedicated to my work. But if something comes up and I need to be at their school for field day, which was this week, okay, I took 2 hours and did that because you know what? That is very, very important to her. And as a parent, you want to be involved, and it's nice now post COVID that we have a little bit more flexibility. Where we didn't have the technology that we have right here,
Sure.
that long ago. It's so if you have that opportunity to work from home or be remote, take those opportunities. You're not going to regret spending an hour outside of the office and if you have to use an hour PTO, use it. You're not going to regret it because you're never going to get that time back. So my approach is, and I tell this to some of my associates, is don't try to be super mom. Don't try to take your computer to go watch that game and try to watch the game and work. Don't do that because you can't do both well. Instead, say, hey guys, I'm stepping out for an hour, and step out, take the time that you need to take, be attentive to the event that you're at, and then come back and be attentive to work. And so I think that's probably my best advice as a mom. I probably learned the hard way a little bit when I say that. But give it your all on both sides and just try to separate that.
And I know the hardest part is asking for that hour or 2 hours, but majority of organizations, if you just sit there and just say, look, I just need this, they're going to say, yeah, go do it. And if not,
Absolutely.
then you have that question where it's like, maybe
Right.
why am I here?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I feel like most companies will understand of, hey, I need to go do this for my family right now. And hopefully the timing is okay. And if it's not, figure out another way. But just be upfront with your manager or your leader and let them know where you're at so that you're not feeling like you're trying to do both and you're trying to juggle two things at the same time. Turn one off and go to the other and vice versa.
That's fantastic advice. And
Thanks, Jesse.
like I said, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like I've too been, Jeremy's 15, Rory's 6.
Oh,
And I
wow.
think of all the things that I've missed because of other things. And sometimes it's unavoidable. I mean,
Absolutely.
you have to provide for your family, but there's other things where it's like, let's put down the phone, let's be present.
Right.
It's like you said, you can't do two things well.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. So, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you do have to miss things, and that's okay. But for the most part, try to find a way to make it work.
And so for your career, you've worked in an office, remote, back in an office. For the independent, were you in the office?
It was pretty hybrid and then remote,
Hybrid.
because that was during COVID. So yeah, I've done a little bit of all of it, of 100% in office back in the day when that's the only way, to now I am hybrid of I have a home office as well as a couple of offices in the area too that I travel to.
I was gonna ask if Arvest was 100% back in the office, or are they offering like a hybrid schedule?
Yeah, so what we're doing is a hybrid schedule where all of our associates who have an office that they can report to, they're not 100% remote. We ask them all to be in the office on Thursday. And then that way, at least everyone that comes in, they're in the office at the same time, so we can keep that culture. Because it's hard if you say, okay, we need everyone in the office one day a week. I don't care what day it is. And then on Monday, you have 4 people there. On Tuesday, you have 12, and then you still don't see each other. So we ask
I would think Wednesday, right in the middle.
Yeah, so we just ask for one day. We're consistent with Thursday, and it works out well. We do have some remote associates, and they, if they don't have an office to go to, then they're obviously at their home office. But we do have some that have an actual Arvest branch that they go to, and they go at least 1 day or 2 days a week as well. So it just kind of keeps that face time and keeps the presence and try to keep the culture that we have.
Yeah, culture is important, and also mental stability, where it's like, no, I want to go to the office.
Right. I love a mixture of both. I like being at home, so I can just buckle down and stay focused and get to work. But I also like the social aspect and the camaraderie and just the collaboration of being able to go to the office and see other team members and work together on things too.
Yeah, and for me, it's just it's like the distractions of home. But then again, there's distractions when you get in the office too. They're just like, how do you just buckle down? But like you mentioned in 2013, you were working from home before it was cool, before it wasn't normal. Like I've been working from my home office since like 2011.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, well, welcome to the party, people.
Yes, that's all like that's what it is. So, and it works.
That's all you know. But like me, me too. I enjoy going and being in an office and being in front of people. When it's not conference related.
Right. So, yeah, one of my favorite things I've just started doing, not just, probably a few months now, is on those Thursdays in the office, I'll send out an email and say, hey, everyone, we're going for a walk at 2 p.m. And so we'll all meet at the front door. And first time, I think I might have walked by myself. But then the second time, a couple people came. Then the third time, more. And now we usually have quite a few in our group. And we go for a little 15-minute walk. And it's
I saw a photo. I saw a photo of it. Like,
because
we're doing that women's health the challenge. And speaking of which,
challenge.
like I got a cold now, So I don't know how I'm going to be able to run this weekend to try to make up my 20,000 steps that you're over me with. But dang, like, you know, I, ladies are cruising on that thing.
You know, that's probably my favorite thing to do is to walk. I have a golden retriever. He's always up for a walk. He always wants to go wherever I am. He's by my side. So, yeah,
To
that
me,
challenge
me
fits
this morning
perfect.
was up at 5:30, and I try because I'm on the West Coast time right now. I guess Pacific time now. So now I try scheduling calls on the East Coast while I'm walking,
Oh, gotcha.
um, just to try to like 5:30 every morning, up at them, go for about 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, but with the amount of steps that some of these ladies are taking, I'm just like, guess I got to walk in the afternoon, and I got to walk at night, walk in my sleep.
Walk in your sleep. Gotta keep
What is
up.
God, keep the keep the watch going like this, I guess, all day long, maybe. But
That's
yeah,
funny. No, it's been a
um,
fun challenge.
yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm, I'm just gonna I'm accepting where I'm at, and I'll continue the pace.
But you know what? The point of it was mental health. So you've made it a priority to get out, and whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, and get outdoors and go for a walk. So
Yeah,
whether it's a mile or 10 miles, that was the point of it. So that's great.
and I don't know who kudos to whoever put that on. I know Maggie's been big in posting and asking for photos, but I think that's another cool thing about this industry is there's always kind of been that proverbial separation between church and
Mhm.
state from a Facebook. Is this Facebook worthy or is it LinkedIn worthy? And it's
Right.
nice to see some of those boundaries being pushed and people being open to kind of share. Yeah, this is my walking buddy, or this is my family, stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah. It kind of gives LinkedIn a glimpse into who you are as a person and not just as a professional.
Yeah, or lack of professional. Yeah, it
Oh,
depends on who you're talking to.
that's not true.
Um, my last topic I want to talk to you about, Sarah, was kind of I don't want to say the advancement of women in equipment finance, but over your career, what do you kind of see from I guess, a trajectory, or we're seeing more women now, I think, enter this market. I think the majority of them have been in the market for a while or in this industry for a while, but now
Right.
they're kind of being able to go to women's conferences or going to like the annual reps. And I mean, you're just seeing more diversity, I guess. When you go to some of these conferences or just in general
Oh,
in the
yeah, I
industry.
agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, I know when I first started, not only was I female, but I was also young. And so I I was the only female from a sales perspective. And so, you look at it now and it's a little bit more equal. So I love seeing that there are women out there and they're looking at the industry and not just thinking, oh, this is equipment, this is all men. No, women can be in there and selling too, or
Sure.
ops or accounting or whatever it is that you do. But I definitely can tell that there's a lot more women in the industry, and it seems that women are enjoying it too. And the LFA does a really good job of bringing the women together so that they can connect and relate to each other, and whatever challenges they're facing or successes they're facing, they can talk through it. But I agree. I feel like there's been a huge amount of women coming in just in the last, what is it, 18 years. So,
Perfect. And then I do ask everyone who comes on here to give me a little fun fact about themselves.
oh, a fun
So,
fact. Well, I mentioned my favorite thing is walking. Well, more than just walking, I love waterfall hikes. So I love walking to waterfalls wherever they are.
okay,
Started doing that in Oregon. There were quite a few, but I did not realize there were even more in Arkansas. So we went to the Buffalo National River in March and just hundreds of waterfalls. I mean, we went to, I think, four at the time that we were there, but absolutely
awesome.
beautiful. And I just love taking my kids, the stream that leads up to it, and then you get there and there's rushing water or there's a trickle. But it's just relaxing, and to me, it's just awe-inspiring to look at them.
Talk about a good way to kind of just clear all the stuff that's in your mind. Just go on one of those and just listen.
Exactly.
I'm assuming you have really good shoes, like, or how close to the waterfall are you?
I do. I have a particular brand of shoes that I love.
Okay. Okay.
But you said how close to the waterfall do you get? The coolest one that I've been to was actually in March, and I didn't have very high expectations, but you actually went and you had to crawl through a cave. And I mean, I was on my stomach crawling through this cave, and then you get through it and inside, and it opens up this big, massive area, and there's this huge waterfall. But it was pitch black dark. You had to have a headlamp or some lights, but it was beautiful.
Like, please reassure me that I'm not going to get stuck in that crevice. Please.
It did cross my mind at one point, like, what if this collapses? I was like, well, it's probably been here for millions of years. I'm probably okay.
Like, I see people like that. It's like they're wedging themselves. Like, no part of that whatsoever. Nothing. Like, nope, nothing to do with that.
You don't like closed in spaces.
Oh no, I don't. I don't mind them. It's but I'm not like the smallest individual, and gotcha. It's like just. But no risk, no reward, I guess, right?
That's true. That is true. There were a lot of people coming out. I didn't even know it was there or it existed. And some people were coming out and they had headlamps. I was like, what do you have headlamps for? And they told me, and they said, you don't know about the cave? And I was like, I had no idea. And so they gave me their headlamps. And so we went in. So I felt more comfortable that we weren't the only ones.
Okay. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this interview in a non-traditional format, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What advice, Sarah, would you give to somebody just entering this industry?
I think I might have mentioned it already, but my advice is to slow down. People might enter the industry right now and get discouraged. Things are moving slow. There's not a lot of growth. It's hard. Hey, that's okay. Take the time right now to learn as much as you can about the industry, to learn as much as you can about what you're doing, because we're going to come out of it and then it's going to be fun again. So just slow down. Don't get discouraged and start looking around at other industries and trying to leave. I've done it. Don't do it. Take my advice and just take your time and learn as much as you can, because it will come back and then you're going to be having a blast. That would be my best advice.
It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. It might be one of the better advices that people have provided on this thing. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad I could do that.
Even unrehearsed. I mean, come on. It's fantastic. You know it's coming.
I did not know it was coming.
Well, awesome, Sarah. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Congratulations on all your success to date. I'm looking forward to continue to see what the rest of your career looks like. I think we've been on this journey. I think our time in the industry is similar.
Yeah,
so it's always great catching up with you, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for having me.